Well, hello everybody, how are you doing this fine day? I'm doing fantastic, but that's a lie and you know it. This is video number 2 of the day. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, I've already said it in a previous video. A hurricane is coming towards my house. It's going to knock out all my power and I'm not going to be able to make any videos for the next couple of days. So I am making as many videos as humanly possible today before the storm comes tomorrow so that you guys will have videos for the next couple of days. It is 10 o'clock in the morning and this is video number 2 that I am recording. If you want more short form videos like this after the hurricane goes away and my power comes back, make sure to like, subscribe, share this video, make sure that people watch it and it has a decent amount of views that makes it worth me actually making them. But I have several more of these to make today, so let's stop wasting your time and let's get started. First, if you're going to make one of these list videos, it's probably a smart idea to actually talk about the qualifications of what a character needs in order to make the list in the first place. And I have come up with 4 qualifications that the character needs in order to make this particular list of greatest soldiers in all of fiction. First thing the greatest soldier needs is to be loyal but not dogmatic. If you have no loyalty to anyone, you're not a soldier, you're a mercenary. And if you're so loyal that you'll do literally anything that your higher ups tell you, regardless of how evil or fucked up it is, and goes against your own principles, then you're basically just a Nazi and not a particularly good soldier there either. Number 2, you have to have extremely strong principles that are unshifting, unwavering, and that you stand by no matter what. These principles are the thing that makes you not dogmatic. Essentially, you will fight for your government, your country, your planet, whatever, until they step on the principles by which you became a soldier to uphold. Once that happens, the leash snaps, and now you gotta go up against your own government. You cannot be a soldier without principles. Number 3, you have to fight for a higher authority. You cannot be your own boss. I don't care if you're fighting for a government, a country, a planet, whatever, God, it doesn't matter, but you need to appeal to some higher authority, and your own morality and your own law cannot be the only thing by which you go by. Again, don't betray your principles, but you also can't be so egotistical that you don't serve another person. A soldier's whole purpose is to serve. Number 4, the word soldier means to persevere, and you need to have this perseverance in order to become the best soldier there is. No matter what happens, no matter what force is put in your way, no matter what psychological damage may occur to you, you can never give up, you can never surrender. You must keep persevering forward under any circumstances. And number 5, I know I said there was 4, I forgot one, sue me. You have to at some point fought on a battlefield in a war. None of this Black Ops shit, none of this undercover, let's go behind enemy lines, assassinate a dude and leave. I don't care if you're considered a soldier. If you have not fought on a battlefield in a war, you are not eligible to be on this list. And that's it, that's the qualifications. So, first thing we're gonna do is go over the characters that I know people are gonna say should be on this list, but they're not gonna be on here for whatever various reasons. So why not start the list by instantly pissing people off? So first character to annoy people right out the gate that is not going to be on this list is Captain America. So let me be clear about this. If we took Captain America from the MCU, 99% of his screen time, he fits the bill to a T and would absolutely deserve to be on this list. He does give up by the end of Endgame and he quits being a soldier because he misses Peggy and it just sort of catches up to him that he's a man at a time and all that kind of stuff. I get it. It's a part of his character arc. I get it, but he does give up. But even then, I may have still added him to the list. I'm not really sure. The giving up thing is kind of a big deal when it comes to this, you know, perseverance and all that. But the main reason he's not on this list is because of the comic versions of the character. So Marvel started doing this thing where they started getting people who hate America to write Captain America comics, which they thought was a really good idea. I feel like anyone with 2 brain cells could have told you that is not the case, because now Captain America is basically like a whiny bitch who doesn't like America, and all he does is spend all his fucking comic books talking about how he was wrong back in the 40s and that all his beliefs that he's ever known are somehow racist and sexist and awful and holding America back, and he's like a fucking socialist now and all this shit. He basically went against all of his previous beliefs and have just casted them out, because that's what happens when you get a bunch of activists to write a very politically charged character. So the current Captain America in the comic books doesn't really have any of the stuff on my list. He doesn't have any real loyalty. He doesn't have any real principles that he stands by no matter what. He doesn't persevere. He's kind of a whiny little bitch. So no, he doesn't get on the list. Early on Captain America, from like the 40s and even the 80s and the 90s, yeah, he'd probably make it, but not now. Nope. The second and last character that I know people are going to say should be on this list but is not is Doom Guy. And that's for two main reasons. One, he's fought for two different armies over the course of his career. He fought for Earth and he also fought for the Sentinels. He has a split loyalty. He doesn't really care who he fights for as long as whoever he's fighting for is fighting against the demons. So that automatically disqualifies him. But on top of that, currently in the story, he doesn't even appeal to any higher authority. Doom Guy is the authority. There's no one that he listens to. There's no one whose opinion he cares about. Nobody gives him orders. He doesn't fight for anyone. He fights against the demons to protect all life, which makes him a hero and a great warrior, but it doesn't make him a soldier because he doesn't serve any master. That's what a soldier does. They serve others. Doom Guy just goes out and kills the bad guys. So without a steady loyalty or any authority that he appeals to, he doesn't qualify for the list. Last up on a list of characters that you want to see in this video but aren't going to is John Rambo. And just to be clear, John Rambo is probably my favorite soldier in all of film history, so the idea that this is a biased list is wiped out pretty much immediately. Now, Rambo, for the most part, does actually meet all the requirements. The one that he doesn't is Perseverance. Rambo has 5 movies, and out of those 5 movies, 3 of them start with somebody coming up to him and asking him to do something, and him rejecting the call to action. And after that, for some whatever plot reason, whether it's guilt or, you know, usually guilt, he will change his mind and then go at the last second to go and help them. So how can I consider him one of the greatest soldiers of all time when he constantly says no to going out and doing the soldiering? Like, once he does it, he goes out and he does well and he succeeds in the mission and all that, sure. But multiple times characters have been killed and even thrown in prison and become prisoners of war because he initially denied the offer to go help them. I can't consider Rambo one of the greatest soldiers in all of fiction if he doesn't like to or doesn't want to be a soldier. He just wants to be done with it. That's a big part of his character. So no, I can't give him credit for one of the greatest soldiers. Sorry. And that's it for the list of soldiers that people think should be on here, but will not be. If there's another character that you think should be on here that's not on the list, or on my reasoning for why they're not on the list, that could be either because I just don't think they should be on here and didn't think of them, or also very likely, I just don't know anything about the character. For instance, a lot of people might think that Solid Snake belongs on this list, but I've only played Metal Gear Solid 4 and I didn't know what the fuck was happening while I was playing it because I was coming in 4. I never played the first 3. I was confused as fuck. I don't know anything about the character, so he's not going to be on this list. Maybe he deserves to be, I don't know. If there are soldiers that you think should be on this list that aren't, you know, that's what the fucking comment section is for. Use it. First up on the list that is made in no particular order is John 117 from the Halo series, and I need to add a bit of a caveat here. I have not played a Halo game since Halo Reach? I think. I beat Halo 1, 2, and 3, played a little bit of Reach, haven't touched the series since. So, if John has gotten significantly worse since Bungie left and the new guys came in and took over, I don't know. I know that he went against his own people and he was like the villain of one of the games, but then they like pulled the rug under people and it was like, oh, he's actually not the villain. That was just in the advertisements. As far as last I had seen him, which is Halo 3, he was basically the quintessential soldier character for all of gaming. He matched this list perfectly. He persevered against insurmountable odds. He had a loyalty to his people and he obeyed orders. He wasn't a dick that just ran off randomly, but he also wasn't dogmatic if his people told him to do something that was foolish. He lived to serve a particular purpose and fight for a particular goal, and he did it at the time that he came out better than anybody else, at least as far as gaming was concerned. So yes, he absolutely deserves to be on this list. Next up, we have Commander Shepard from the Mass Effect series. For most people, Master Chief might be the quintessential soldier as far as gaming goes. For me personally, it's Commander Shepard. I think he's better in basically every category. I mean, this man didn't just overcome insurmountable odds, but he had everything going against him. From his race to bullshit political bureaucracy and everything else you could possibly think of. And you go down my criteria, he fits every single one to like an extreme degree. He gives up his entire life and possible future for the sole purpose of taking out the Reapers and saving humanity. And it doesn't even matter what version of the character you play as. If you play as a renegade version of Shepard and you take out the council, like you allow the council to be killed, that is still a very soldier-like action. You could see taking them out as being an evil action, but he doesn't take them out as a power grab. He takes them out because they refuse to work with him and help him do what he believes is the best for humanity and take out the Reapers. They make his job harder at every single step, and once he wipes them out, all he does is decide to replace them with a new council that will be better better for the people. That turns out to not be the case, and the new council ends up being just as bad as the old council. But the point is that every single action that Commander Shepard makes, whether he's Renegade or Paragon, is for the good of the people. He sticks to his principles, and on top of being a great soldier, he's also an amazing leader that led his people into a galactic war that could not be won, and somehow, among all odds, was able to win it. Commander Shepard is one of those rare characters that is written as both an unstoppable force that will punch through every obstacle that is put in his way, while also not getting rid of his humanity and seeing all the vulnerabilities and weaknesses that a character like that can have. Everything that a regular human would deal with going through these things, we see Commander Shepard dealing with. And he deals with them in the way that a great soldier should and would. Commander Shepard's fantastic. There's no other way to say it. Next up on the list, we have Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. And if you're thinking, well, he doesn't really count. He uses a sword. He's more of a knight than a soldier. No, if he fights on a battlefield in a war, he's a soldier. I don't care if he never even enlisted with any army. That is not a requirement to be a soldier, sir. He meets all the required prerequisites to make this list, and a ton of others. Aragorn isn't just the quintessential soldier, but he's also the quintessential gentleman. He's honorable, and he's just all around a good, kind man without being a bitch. This is a very hard thing to find in modern day stories. People seem to think that you can only make a character kind if they're completely harmless and useless, and that's not the case. Aragorn shows that. On top of that, he resists the corruption of the ring, which Boromir, another pretty good man, was completely fucking floored by. And honestly, I was sold on Aragorn during the Two Towers film, when Legolas was talking to him before the war and said that all the people were going to go out to die, and Aragorn's response to that was, then I will die as one of them. How the fuck could you not consider this man a great soldier? Absolutely, he belongs on this list. Next up on the list, we have G.I. Joe. All of them. Every single one. All fucking, what, 60 of them? I know I've been using that word quintessential a lot in this video, but I mean, they are kind of the quintessential soldiers, right? Like, that's what they're made to be. The only thing that really made me question putting them on this list is the fact that in the cartoons they don't kill people, and I find it very hard to consider somebody a soldier if they haven't killed somebody. However, the comics and movies and other variations of these characters do kill people. It's just, you know, the cartoons for children, so it is what it is. The fact is that each and every single G.I. Joe is specifically designed to be essentially the perfect person. I mean, they're all physically strong and capable. They never give up. They're all stupidly fucking wise. They're kind, virtuous, fearless. And on top of all that, they take the time to teach children life lessons. What is not to lack about the G.I. Joes? And if I'm going to have G.I. Joe on the list, I must also have Optimus Prime. He's basically everything the G.I. Joe are in one single person. He may lose a couple of points as he failed to protect Cybertron and Cybertron fell, but even after it fell, he still continued to fight for his ideals beyond the location that he fought for. And you'll notice that about a lot of characters on this list, that for the perfect soldier, your loyalties and perseverance to fight for the things that you fight for are not bound to any particular land or place. Once that place falls, your duty is still there, and you are still honor bound to fight for those ideals. Like, for instance, General Zod. Yeah, not all soldiers necessarily have to be good guys. Now, I'm specifically talking about General Zod from the Man of Steel film. Believe it or not, he actually fits everything in my criteria. Now, you may argue that he is dogmatic in his beliefs, but not really. The start of the film shows General Zod going up against his own government because he believes that they led his people down the wrong path. He goes to overthrow them, and after he fails to overthrow them and then they imprison him and the destruction of Krypton happens, he comes back and he doesn't just give up just because Krypton was destroyed. He does everything he can to bring Krypton back to the glory of what it once was. And he's not doing this for his own personal glory or power. He says in the film, everything he does is for Krypton. He was literally engineered to have the purpose that is to serve the people of Krypton. Easily the best villain in all the DCEU, and one of the greatest soldiers in film history, to be honest with you. Much like Captain John Miller and Lieutenant Aldo Raine, this one is a twofer. And the reason for that is both of these characters are very, very similar. They're both leaders of their own platoon that are sent behind enemy lines and do pretty much anything they have to do in order to complete their goals and their orders that were given to them, even if those orders are things that they do not agree with. However, they are both shown to have limits and to go against those orders when those limits are pushed too far. In Captain John Miller's case, his whole job is to find Private Ryan and send him back home because Private Ryan had a bunch of brothers and all of those brothers died. And since he was the last surviving male of his family, the law states that he had to go back home so that his family's bloodline didn't just end there. can continue on. For most of the movie, he doesn't agree with this, and he thinks it's crazy that you're sending a bunch of guys into essentially a suicide mission to get one guy to go home. By the time he meets Private Ryan, he actually surprises him by refusing to go home and wanting to stay and keep fighting. Private Ryan does not have a choice in this. It's an order. He has to go. But John Miller actually goes against this order and allows Private Ryan to continue fighting because he viewed it as the right thing. Lieutenant Aldo Raine is the same way. He was sent behind enemy lines to essentially kill as many Nazis as he possibly can. And he would complete that job under any circumstances, even suicide bombing a fucking theater with Hitler and a bunch of other Nazis in it. Eventually that plan succeeds when America makes a deal with this monster of a fucking Nazi named Hans Landa, and Aldo is then ordered to transport Landa back to America unharmed as part of the deal. But Aldo just couldn't bring himself to do this because this guy is one of the biggest monsters he'd ever met. So he did obey the order and bring him back. However, he also carved a Nazi symbol into his forehead as a permanent scar so that anyone he ever came into contact with throughout all of America, since he would be fleeing to America after this deal, would know that he was a Nazi and he would never be able to have a peaceful life. Allowing this man to get off scot-free just went against Lieutenant Aldo Raine's principles. So he followed orders while also kind of not following orders. These are two of the best soldier characters when it comes to like movies that are kind of trying to be semi-historical. Both really solid characters. Next up, we have Chris boulder punching Redfield, and boy oh boy, how unlucky can you get as a character. Chris Redfield is the original protagonist of the entire Resident Evil series, who has been completely outshined by Leon. No one gives a fuck about Chris anymore. They haven't for a long time, and it's all just because of just bad luck, basically. So essentially what happened was the first Resident Evil came out and Chris was in it. Everyone loved it. Everyone loved the first Resident Evil. And then Resident Evil 2 came out and they introduced a new protagonist in Leon. But like how sequels to games usually are, especially back then, it was better than the first one. So now you have this new character that was introduced in a better game, and he's sort of built up as like, okay, now he's a cool guy. You know, who's this Chris Redfield asshole? He was in that lesser game. Then 3 came out, nobody really cared about it. And then eventually Resident Evil 4 came out and broke the goddamn internet. Everybody absolutely adored 4. It won Game of the Year. It was this biggest thing ever, and they brought Leon back to be in 4. This cemented the fact that Leon was the most beloved character in the entire Resident Evil franchise. And then for Resident Evil 5, they decided to do the same type of game as 4, but this time they're going to put Chris, the original protagonist. People are going to come out of the woodwork to play this game, to play as Chris, who they haven't seen since the initial game. As good as 4. So basically, twice in the same series, the main protagonist has been outshined by another protagonist that's not the main protagonist of the series by being put in what is essentially lesser versions of the other guy's games. Poor fucking Chris. I like Chris a lot. Chris is a good dude, and he is damn near a perfect soldier who, once again, fits the entire criteria. He is extremely loyal and willing to put his life on the line for the good of people and the good of his ideals. He's also on multiple occasions gone up against even close friends of his who he has had ideological issues with. And one of those times being Wesker was actually an authority figure, so he went up against someone he was supposed to obey without question. So yes, he fits in the category of loyal but not dogmatic. And the fact that he is still fighting the fucking zombies all these years later, even appearing in Resident Evil Village to massacre literally hundreds of these motherfuckers, cements him as one of the all-time great soldiers of gaming. Yes, he deserves to be on this list. And last but certainly not least, people might be annoyed that Doom Guy's not on this list, but do not worry, because BJ Blazkowicz from the Wolfenstein games is indeed on this list. He's got everything that Doom Guy has that makes him a good soldier, but overcomes a lot of the more weaknesses Doom Guy has that sort of disqualify him from being a soldier. For instance, BJ Blazkowicz is not God. He does appeal to a higher authority. And like Optimus Prime and General Zod, even though America fell in the Wolfenstein games and it has now been completely controlled by Nazis, he will still continue the fight and fight for the ideals of America for as long as he needs to, devoting his entire life to this purpose for the good of not only America but the world as a whole. This man has been fighting Nazis longer than Captain America. In all honesty, he really should be the symbol of like anti-Nazism. I don't think anybody in all of fiction has killed more Nazis than BJ Blazkowicz. That's including Lieutenant Aldo, Raine, and the rest of the bastards, as well as Captain America, Wonder Woman, all these other characters who fought in World War II. No, absolutely not. They're all still dealing with rookie numbers, okay? You gotta up your game, guys. Come on. And that's gonna be it for video number 2. I got more to make. I got so many more. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?